r/Nosleep. Posted by u/vibe_time34. I am a new fire watchman and some things are strange. After both my parents died, and I finished college, I really had no reason to stay in my hometown. As soon as I could, I moved cross-country to a town in rural California. I had almost nothing left, so I was job hunting to get a place to live and came across an offer to become a fire watchman in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I thought it sounded perfect. I could live in nature with a great view in almost total isolation with one other person and the occasional person camping in the wrong area. I applied immediately and somehow managed to get the job. I was kind of excited for the prospect of being in nature so much. It was late spring, so fire season was begging, when I drove out there in my 2008 Hyundai Elantra that my parents gave me. When I got out there, I could feel the heat on my face immediately. It was the type of heat that hung in the air and made any movement difficult. I drove down the old dirt road to the station, and when I arrived, my roommate was outside waiting for me. "Hey, I'm Chase and I'm guessing you're the new guy." "Yeah, I guess that's me. My name is Alex." Chase looked to be in his late 50s with tan skin and a relaxed smile. He had clearly been there a while, and I got the feeling I wasn't the first new person that he introduced to this place. I walked up the winding staircase up to the glass box that I was about to share with Chase for the foreseeable future. "If you see something that you think might be smoke, come get me first. You're still new to this and I want to limit false alarms as much as possible," said Chase. Almost as an afterthought, he added, "If you're out hiking or something and you see dense fog, head back to the tower immediately." I didn't think the second remark was too strange because I assumed it had something to do with getting lost or something. The tower was around 40 feet tall, taller than any of the trees around it, and it was on the top of the tallest hill around, so I wasn't too worried about getting lost. I decided to familiarize myself with the area, so I walked around the tower to see what I could find. Behind the tower, around 550 yards away, I found a deer carcass. The strange thing is that it was completely intact. I went to look closer and there was one long cut from the chin to the tail. It wasn't until later that I realized that there wasn't a single drop of blood. I went back after I realized this, and when I pulled open the cut to investigate, the deer was completely filled with dirt. That really freaked me out, so I radioed Chase. He didn't sound surprised by my findings and simply told me that it's normal and that I would understand eventually. I made my way back to the tower, having filled my adventure urge for the day. I ate dinner with Chase and went to bed. Later on, I woke up and I swear I heard an animalistic screech in the distance, but that was probably just the fact that I was still half asleep. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a hike. I saw nothing strange except that around 3 miles from the tower, I found what appeared to be a perfect dug into the ground. It was pretty large and it was strangely perfect, but I wrote it off as the work of some animal or some person getting bored and driving into the mountains to dig a hole for some reason. The next day I was on another hike, and after walking for about 5 miles away from the tower, I saw something horrifying. I was walking and I came across another hole, except this time the hole was filled perfectly with blood and organs to be completely level with the rest of the ground. It looked as if all the dirt was perfectly displaced and replaced with organs, so there would be the same amount. This was finally something real and intense enough to shake me awake and make me realize something was desperately wrong with this area. I didn't investigate further or check if they were deer organs. I sprinted back to the tower immediately. I am somewhat athletic. I played football in college. I ran as fast as I could, but I was 5 miles away and I was sprinting. By the time I got back I was dying and Chase asked what was wrong. I didn't have time to tell him. I found my phone and found the strongest cell reception I could get, then typed this out. I needed to get it out in the world to see if I could get any advice. So after I ran all the way back and made that post, I eventually calmed down enough to tell Chase about what happened. He explained to me that what I found was normal. He said that there are many holes throughout these mountains, and each one corresponds to a mammal in the area. He said it only affects mammals for some reason, and the mammal population in the area has significantly decreased because of it. He told me that every single hole is perfectly sized to fit all the blood and organs of what they correspond to, and they fluctuate as such. Apparently the dirt is all in one large pile in some valley about 10 miles away where nothing living can survive. All this information was way too much for me, so I took a nap. When I woke up, it was already dusk and Chase was eating dinner. I went over to him, and we ate in complete silence for what felt like forever. After dinner I went out for some fresh air and started the long walk down the stairs. I made sure to take the rifle with me because I didn't know what was happening and thought it might make me feel safer. I walked under the moonlight in no particular direction for what felt like an hour. When I snapped out of it, I realized I was lost. I was always in the woods as a kid, so I wasn't too freaked out until I saw it. Right in front of me I saw what must have been at least 100 small perfect holes in the ground. I thought back to what Chase said and realized that there must be a lot for all the small mammals like squirrels or rabbits that are still on this mountain. I stood there stunned until a squirrel brushed past my leg. I looked up and every single squirrel was coming down from their trees or out of their holes and sprinting in the direction I came from. It took me a second before I too saw the fog. Thick, heavy fog that I couldn't see through. It all came rolling in. I saw the little animals running and I took the hint to run in the same direction. My legs were sore from my sprint the day before, but I did not want to figure out why those squirrels were running. While I was running, Chase radioed in and told me I needed to head back to the tower immediately. I somehow stumbled upon the tower while I was sprinting and made it inside safely. As soon as I did, Chase slammed and locked the door. I was sitting there confused and Chase explained, "There's something in the fog." "What do you mean?" "You saw that deer, right?" "Yeah." "Well, whenever the fog hits, those type of bodies show up and some holes get filled in." Out of nowhere something large slammed into the base of the tower. "Yeah, that sometimes happens too," Chase sighed. I could tell that he was tired. He didn't seem afraid of the fog or whatever lies within, just more sad about it. "I don't know what that thing wants, but all it does it take." I don't know why, but Chase seemed overcome by grief and regret. I didn't have the heart to question further, so I stopped. I was still incredibly curious, but I decided to let it be for now. The next morning when I woke up, I went outside to try and find clues about the fog. I went to check on the post that got slammed into and it looked fine other than a few thick and deep scratches. Now that I think about it, I don't know how I didn't see the thousands of scratches on all of the posts. I walked around and I saw several squirrels that got unlucky. I checked and they were all filled in with dirt. I read the comments and I don't want to ask Chase right now because it seems painful for him for some reason. I went walking because I decided that I needed to find the valley where all the dirt is. I walked for about 5 hours in a random direction and I didn't find anything other than holes and holes that were full. I got curious, so I poked one of the filled in holes with a stick and it was completely solid. The blood, the guts, everything was completely solid. I talked to Chase later about what happens to the holes after they get filled in. He claims that they just disappear a week or so after getting filled. New holes come whenever something comes into the area or something is born. I wonder where my hole is. I continued searching for the dirt pile the next day and after walking for around 6 hours, I think I found it. It's a valley that looks unnatural because it's completely level and there is absolutely no life on it. The strange thing is I think I can see some large footprints on it. I think that the whole area goes down by a small amount every time a body gets filled in and up a little bit every time a new hole comes about. I wonder how the holes get made and how the dirt gets transferred to the valley. Anyway, on the way back I found an old dilapidated house. I went to check it out and I saw the mailbox has the name Davis family on it. It is strange because there is no road to and from the house. At least not anymore. I wonder how that family is connected to this whole thing. I went to the house this morning to check it out. The front door was locked but the back door collapsed completely by this point so I could get in fairly easily. Inside, the house looked like it was stuck in the 70s. There was shag carpeting on the floor and it overall gave a very old feel. I walked in but the basement was chained up, so I ignored that for the time being and went upstairs. It looked like just a basic house from that time period for a middle-class family. Upstairs I checked through the rooms and I couldn't find anything too strange. Except in the attic it felt cold for some reason. That's strange because it's late spring in California, it should be boiling up there but it was freezing. I looked around up there for a while but I couldn't find anything that freaked me out too much other than the overall creepy vibe. I went down to the second floor and there was the master bedroom and 2 kids' bedrooms. One was clearly styled after a girl and the other was styled after a boy. In the one for the boy, I found a library book from a school. I looked inside it where people put their names and a stamp with the checkout date. In small, handwritten letters it said Chase Davis. Could that be a coincidence? I don't know what's going on, but that was enough for Chase's room. I went to check out the girl's room but it was uneventful. On the other hand, in the master bedroom I found an old book on a desk that clearly hasn't been used in a very long time. The book was leather-bound and I have no clue what language was on the cover. It appeared to be some ancient European language, judging by the way it looked at least. I didn't dare to touch it and went home instead. I wanted to ask Chase about a couple things but he seemed to be in a weird mood, so I decided to ask him later. Also I radioed HQ to ask Chase's last name. It's Davis. I don't know what to do with this information, so I thought I would ask you guys first.